All right, so today we're gonna like dive into this thing that I think a lot of people struggle with,
Hmm.
especially singers, and I
Hmm.
I've definitely been there myself. It's like pre-performance jitters.
Absolutely.
You're about to step on stage,
Oh, yeah.
your heart's pounding,
Yeah.
your mind's just racing, and
It's the worst.
it's the worst.
Yeah.
And so this whole deep dive is really about, trying to understand like what are those nerves all about?
Right.
And how can we like not let them work against us, but kind of
Exactly.
like use them to make our performance even better?
Use them to your advantage. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got this great article here all about, calming singing nerves.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited to break it down.
yeah, me too.
Mm.
So, one of the things that the article really emphasizes is that these nerves are totally normal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just, the newbie singer who's like never been on stage before.
Hmm.
Like even seasoned professionals
All the time.
get the
Yeah. It's interesting because it's not actually just a singing thing either. It's like a
Right.
human thing. It's like this.
to like a fight or flight.
It is. It's a physiological response that we have to like stress or anything that we perceive as like a challenge or a threat.
Oh, wow.
So even if it's a positive challenge, like singing on stage, your body doesn't really know the difference. It's just like, oh, something's happening. We need to get ready.
So it's just like pumping all these hormones and stuff.
Exactly. It's like adrenaline, cortisol, all those things that are supposed to help you either, fight the threat or run away.
Right. But we're not doing either of those things when we're on stage.
Exactly. You're just standing there trying to sing.
Right. So then it's like, okay, what do we do with all this energy?
Right.
And the article actually, like one of my favorite parts is where it talks about, instead of thinking of it as like, oh my gosh, these are nerves, this is bad.
Right.
It's like, what if we thought of it as excitement?
Yes. Reframing it completely.
Yeah. But how do we
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. It's not just like flip a switch and suddenly you're excited.
Right.
It takes practice, but it's about shifting your focus.
Mhm.
So instead of thinking about all the things that could go wrong, like I could forget the lyrics or my voice could crack,
Mm.
you focus on the positive, like how much you love singing, how excited you are to share your music with the audience.
Okay. So it's kind of like, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but like when athletes are getting ready for a big game,
Yes,
they use that nervous energy like to their advantage.
absolutely. It's the same kind of adrenaline rush.
Right.
And they channel that into focus and energy and determination.
So we could do that with singing too.
Exactly. You can use that nervous energy to really like power your performance.
Okay. So one of the things that the article suggests is like, okay, so if you are feeling these nerves,
Yeah.
one of the things that you can do is deep breathing.
Yes. Deep breathing is so powerful.
But is it really that simple?
It sounds simple, but it really works because it actually affects your nervous system. So when you take deep breaths, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the fight or flight response.
Oh, okay.
So it's like hitting the brakes on the stress response. And there are different techniques that are especially helpful for singers, like diaphragmatic breathing, which is where you breathe deeply into your belly. It helps relax your vocal cords
Oh, right.
and improve your breath control.
So it's not just like a mental thing, it's also physically preparing your body.
Exactly. It's preparing your body and your mind to sing.
I see. So the article also talks about visualization.
Yes.
So is that kind of like where you're like picturing yourself on stage and
Mhm.
just like nailing it?
Exactly. And it's more than just like positive thinking. When you visualize yourself performing successfully, your brain starts to believe that it's already happened. So when you actually get on stage, you're less anxious and more confident.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's like tricking your brain almost.
In a way.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself a mental rehearsal. And what's really cool is that visualization actually has physiological effects too. Your brain starts firing the same neural pathways as if you were actually performing.
So it's like almost as good as actual practice.
It can definitely help,
Mm.
especially with the mental side of things.
That's amazing. Um, okay, so one of the things that the article also mentions is that, and this is something I've kind of always thought of as like a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
is that nerves can actually enhance a performance.
Yes.
But I always thought it was like, oh, if you're nervous, you're going to mess up.
Right.
How is that possible?
Well, it's about finding the right balance. A little bit of nervous energy can actually make your performance more captivating. It can add a level of rawness and vulnerability that really connects with the audience.
So like that edge.
Exactly. It's that edge that keeps people on the edge of their seats.
Hmm.
It's like when you see a singer who's just pouring their heart out on stage, those little tremors in their voice, the intensity in their eyes, that's all part of the magic. And that often comes from a place of like nervous energy.
Just like not being so perfect.
Exactly. It's about embracing the imperfections and letting your emotions come through.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But is there like a point where it becomes too much?
Yes, definitely. There's a sweet spot. If you're so nervous that you can't focus or you're physically shaking, then it's going to hinder your performance.
Right.
The key is to acknowledge those nerves. Work with them through techniques like deep breathing and visualization, and trust that they can actually fuel a more authentic and engaging performance.
So it's like we don't want to get rid of the nerves completely.
No, we just want to manage them
Right.
and use them to our advantage.
I see. Okay. So what would you say is like the one most important thing for singers to remember?
I would say remember that you're not alone. Everyone gets nervous, even the most seasoned professionals. So don't beat yourself up about it. Embrace those nerves as part of the process. Experiment with different techniques to find what works for you, and most importantly, trust in your ability to deliver a powerful and authentic performance.
Wow, that's great advice.
Yeah.
So I think we've given everyone like a really good set of tools to use to deal with their nerves.
Absolutely.
So next time you're feeling those pre-show jitters, just, take a deep breath.
Yes,
Visualize yourself rocking it out on stage.
exactly.
And remember that like those jitters are just your passion waiting to be like unleashed.
I love that.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
It was great having you.
Thanks for having me.
And to all you listeners out there,
Yeah,
break a leg.
you got this.